Hello, this is Trace Mayer, author of The Great Credit Contraction. The reason I wrote the book as a monetary scientist is to help provide some education on just monetary science with an introduction to basic economic law. I try to use consistent definitions and apply rational assertions in a logical and organized framework. I give a little suggestions on how you can protect and preserve and even grow your capital. But mainly the book is just an overview, a roadmap, if you will, to the current economic environment. I hope that you'll be able to learn and apply some of these economic laws in your own life to preserve and protect your own capital, because things are really odd out there. I've included some clips from various interviews that I've had and been on so that you can get a flavor for my thinking process. All of these were impromptu, so there you have it. I hope you enjoy the book. I hope you purchase it and use it and find it helpful in your life. I also offer a 150% money-back guarantee, subject to some conditions. Just read about it. So you really have nothing to lose. Well, on to the interviews.
You know, I wish I knew how to price things in dollars, but it's a very difficult thing to do because it's just an illusion that doesn't mean anything. I mean, what is a dollar? There's not even a definition to it. Our federal law is completely screwed up in regards to it. I mean, we have these pieces of paper that are $50, and we have these gold coins that are $50, and we have these dollar coins that are $1, and so you get 50 of those, and that's $50. But what is a dollar? I mean, there's no definition to it. So how in the world do you price anything in it? It's like not. It's like having an inch equal to a centimeter, which is equal to a mile. I mean, there's no definition. So, of course, it's confounding and confusing to try and price things with such an unreliable instrument. Also talking with Stephen Orbuck, he's president of Oak Ziff Real Estate, which manages about $25 billion throughout the world in multiple countries. And he said, quote, "The depth and breadth is seen in every market and is still in the early stages." And it's just getting started. You don't want to catch a falling knife, especially with real estate. And, you know, this is just the consequences of economic law that work. And a lot of our elected politicians, and you could even say that the nationalized industries, some of the bankers are now unelected politicians, but they're trying to repeal fundamental economic laws, and they'll be no more successful than if they tried to repeal the law of gravity.
Right, and that makes sense to those of us who pay attention. Hopefully, more people will start paying attention. You just mentioned about the $50 price in gold. Do you have an idea of where you think this will be headed in the short term and in the long term? With the price of metals. Well,
it's very difficult because, as I talked about in my presentation up in Cambridge House, what we use as currency can be money, a money substitute, or an illusion. And the Federal Reserve know what we use to price everything. That's just an illusion. So there's no real way to measure with that instrument. But as far as where the metals are going in terms of prices, I think if you measure them in terms of real things, for example, in terms of real estate or in terms of stocks like the Dow, I would say that in 2009 we'll probably see the Dow gold ratio go from its current about 9 ounces to buy the Dow probably down to 5 or 6 ounces to buy the Dow. And we'll see real estate, both residential and commercial, continue to decline in price relative to the metals, both gold and silver, just like they did quite precipitously in 2008.
Now, that's a very good point, and it really doesn't bode well for an entire economy based on an illusion.
Well, that's the problem. That's what we're seeing is this is economic law being asserted. We have a fundamentally unsound, inherently unstable, fraudulent economic system, and it's worldwide. We use a fiat currency and fractional reserve banking, and the confidence in this system is being lost. And the system does not so much collapse as evaporate. When a house of cards collapses, there are at least cards left on the table. But our current is evaporating at an ever-increasing rate. And so what's going to be left at the bottom of the pan when all the water or soup or whatever is evaporated away? It's like putting the inmates in charge of the asylum. You've got Geithner just put in as Treasury Secretary. Where did he come from? New York Fed, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs. You've got Lawrence Summers. You've got Robert Rubin, who's a little bit involved with this. You've got Paul Volcker. All of these people instrumental in the gold price suppression scheme, which, anyone who's got access to the evidence and has looked at it, any rational observer cannot disagree with it. The case has been pretty much cracked. So this underlying problem is that the world's reserve currency has been propped up using a derivative illusion, is what I like to call it, using these futures contracts and leasing gold into the market should the price rise, as Alan Greenspan says. And to suppress the price of gold is to disable the barometer of the international financial system so that all markets may be more easily manipulated. And this manipulation has been the primary cause of the catastrophic excesses in the market and now threatens the entire world. And, we've got the inmates in charge of the asylum, the same people who disabled the international barometer, who disabled gold, are now in charge. What are they going to do? Probably screw stuff up even more. And so there's no real change. These are mega trends that are shaping and shifting what's going to happen in the future. And what do you do when it's spinning out of control? I mean, it is completely out of control. We've got financial weapons of mass destruction vaporizing some of the largest financial institutions in the world: Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, AIG, Merrill Lynch, Bank of America is on the ropes, Citigroup's on the ropes, Wachovia is dragging down Wells Fargo. It just goes on and on and on, and it's a mess. And they're trying to make change, but all they do is make it worse because they're the inmates running the asylum, and they're all infected with the financial insanity virus, and it's just horrible.
I really like that analogy because when you apply rational thought to things, none of this makes sense. But in an asylum, you can't expect rational thought.
Yeah, there's no well, I guess there is rational thought because they're very effectively stealing everybody's retirements with these bailout programs and packages. They're systematically looting and stealing from everybody. And, we've got a bunch of kleptomaniac insane asylum inmates,
I had someone...
They're stealing from everybody. It'd be funny if it wasn't so sad.
Well, exactly.
Unfortunately, these are just mega trends that are at work, and, as holders of capital, I think it's wise to just batten down the hatches, sit down, take an accounting, get a general roadmap overview of what's happening so that people can at least understand where we're at, where we're going, and the economic laws at work, and then you can make a logical, rational decision.
Well, I hope those clips from various interviews gives you a little bit of a introduction to my thinking process. And I hope that you will purchase a copy of The Great Credit Contraction. A lot of work went into it, and I think that it'll be a good roadmap to give you a good understanding of monetary science and basic economic law. These are not super tough subjects, and when presented clearly and coherently and logically, I think you can very quickly understand these principles and begin to apply them in your own decision-making process. Additionally, there's a 150% money-back guarantee, subject to some terms and conditions, so that it isn't abused. So you really have nothing to lose. I respect everybody's time and attention, and that 150% guarantee is there to compensate you for some of the time that it would take to return it. So I hope you find it useful and make the purchase. Thanks.